welcome. If this is your first time, all right, looks like we already got a hand raised. I'm going to do my spiel, and then I am going to call up Hassan. So the way that I have these rooms is I see some people have done it. There is a little hand raise option down at the bottom. Feel free to raise your hand. You'll be brought up. I'm going to be here for an hour answering anything and everything Amazon advertising. Also, for those of you who may or may not be able to join the full length of this, I am streaming this live on my Facebook as well as our YouTube channel, which means that you'll be able to catch the replays there. Cool. So I'm going to bring up Hassan because you were the first one with your hand up. So I super appreciate that. And we will go ahead. You can unmute and ask your question.
Hello, Elizabeth. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
How's everyone doing?
I'm doing
I'm
well.
doing really fine. How are you?
Awesome. Glad to hear it. How can I help?
I just wanted to say Eid Mubarak to everyone listening to this podcast.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you. And hello to you as well.
I'll get back to you when you upload this on YouTube.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
You
You're doing
well.
great work.
You as well. All right, I'm going to move you to listening. And then I'm going to bring up the next. I'm assuming I say it Mir, but please correct me because I will be the first to disclose that I am not the best at pronouncing names.
Hey, Elizabeth. Hi. You got that right.
Awesome. Got it right. Cool. How can I help?
Well, I just have a quick question on Amazon ads.
Yeah.
Would this be right? Yeah, perfect. So I just have a brand of mine who is into the category of, tracks and athleisure wears, having the product priced higher, much, much higher than the average ASP in the category.
Mm-hmm.
The last few months have been hard with the A cost running up high.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I try and push it on the top of the search, I see that I do get good clicks, but not the conversion, right? And hence the ACOS shoots up. So what is the strategy that you would recommend for a product line which is high on the ASP without taking a hit on the tacos or the ACOS piece?
Yeah, that is a really good question. Let me ask you, is the sales volume enough that you get a pretty steady line when it comes to gauging like the impressions, or do you find that, or not the impressions, when like basically when you're looking at the ad console and you're looking at the data, do you see like very drastic up and down lines where you have like, good numbers one day, crap numbers the other day, or is it pretty consistently crappy across?
No, it's chop. There are a few good days and a few bad days, but there is no consistency in it.
Good question. I asked that because that's not uncommon with higher priced products. So good news is we manage some brands using athleisure wear, and we also manage some brands that have larger selling points. So what you're going to find, and it's what you've observed, is that the conversion rate is higher, which means that you need more clicks on average to convert to a sale. And it's not uncommon to see things with low conversion rates have like really wild, crazy, like up and down. You'll have like 100% ACOS the one day, and in one of the accounts we have like 5% the next day, and you're like, great, how am I supposed to make optimizations off of this? So one thing I would say is I would look at it in longer time frames. So a lot of times people will look at, say like last 7 days, last 14 days. Unless we have some really intense seasonality, like for instance, Prime Day is coming up. So that's going to kind of color the performance we would have if we looked over a longer time range. I would recommend kind of zooming out and say, like, what are my averages for the last 30 days? That for us has been very helpful to kind of smooth out those really wild like graphs or performance swings. So that would be my first tip. My second tip is if you are in clothing, it's not uncommon for people to have really get really particular with what it is that they're looking for. So depending on the search page, it may not be the worst idea to show up, say, middle of the page, maybe even page 2, depending on the search page. I would say in these instances, it sounds like, is it your brand or is it a client?
It's a client.
Got it. Okay. I would have a really frank discussion on expectations. Um, and I would go in really deep and just look at the data and be like, hey, we have lower conversion rates. That's fine because we have, these particular KPIs. Then,
Mhm.
this is the way we have to manage, meaning we can't get really high top of search because the cost is too great given the conversion rates. We've tested it. That's really great to show them the tests. Say like, this
Mhm.
is something that we've tested. And so therefore, ongoing, I always find in these conversations, a lot of times it is helpful to clients to say, present the data, say what you're seeing, give them one or two options to say, we could either continuously go aggressive. This is the ACoS that I'm seeing. But given what you've told me about like your KPIs, I think it makes more sense for us to pivot to this strategy. As you're a higher price point, maybe we can get fewer sales and still hit some revenue goals because, if you get a higher price point, you get one sale, it's greater than if it was less. And
Mhm.
then just have that discussion. So I think it's going to be one part strategy. Strategy would be looking at longer date ranges, identifying where you do convert, and then just trying to test a whole bunch of stuff and see where it is that you can convert and kind of just hone in on that and let where you do get the good conversions kind of guide you as to what targets work well for the products. And then the second piece of this is just going to be the client communication, being open and upfront, and then kind of looping them into the strategy, because you'll find that will be very helpful to provide clarity to you. Because probably what you're seeing is they really told me they want revenue increases, and I've tested things to generate the revenue increases, but I'm not hitting the profitability KPIs. So often what we find is it's not so much that we're unsure of what strategy to run, it's that we're unsure of what the client would prefer. And so we're kind of at an impasse saying like, I can't hit both of these and we're unsure of where to move. So we've had those conversations with clients like, look, this is what I'm seeing. This is where I would like to move forward, but I'm a bit unsure given the other conversations we have. Let's just have a discussion. Let's come away with a game plan. As much as that may seem a scary conversation, it's actually going to be the best conversation, and those conversations where you actually help clients because you're helping them navigate it and you're bringing in the context, because what they're lacking is the context. So you can bring those contexts in through the numbers and then just navigate as to what the strategy should be going forward.
Sure, I think that helps. Thanks, Elizabeth, for this.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate the question. It was a great question.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna move to listening. So for those of you joining, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you hopping in here. So if you have a question, there should be a raise a hand button somewhere on your screen in this live. Feel free to shoot a hand up. Maria, awesome. I will move you to speaking and feel free to ask your question.
Hello.
Hey.
It's me again. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
All right. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Okay. This is a question. I'm not sure if anybody is using a gold panning campaign or using gold panning campaigns. So far, I'm using them, and most of them are really performing quite well. Some of them are my top performers. But the question that keeps kind of coming to my mind is, do gold panning campaigns help you rank?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
That's the short end of the stick. That's the short answer. I can give you context. So, for those of you listening in and probably like, oh, what are these gold panning campaigns and how can I do them? It's essentially using some sort of broader targeting. A very classic is autos. It might also be broad matches, so you might take like say a broad match, and you would never usually put like a single word keyword into broad match because that can get very expensive. But actually, what can be a really great strategy is to take that single word broad match and then put it in a campaign, but you put a low bid. So essentially, you're not spending a lot on it. It's called gold panning because it's kind of looking at all of those little random search terms that are super cheap that pop up everywhere, but they might only pop up here or there. So you're allowed to accumulate a lot of those. So that's the gold painting strategy in a nutshell. I also have a video out on our YouTube page on using what's kind of called a catch-all auto. That's a very classic sort of that gold painting strategy. Highly recommend you set those up in every single account. They're like one of those little wizard campaigns that tends to always work and get great results. But to your question of if they help you rank, I would say yes, but it depends on the sales velocity through like each particular search. So each search page rank is determined by, I mean, a couple of their factors, obviously relevancy and other things, but it's determined by positive signals to the algorithm in the terms of clicks, add to carts, and definitely conversions. So the better you convert, the more sales velocity you have relative to your competitors, the higher that you will rank. So those additional searches and then purchases through like those low bid campaigns will add to kind of like your cumulative sales on a particular search. The question is, how much is it adding? And because they're lower bids and because you might not be spending a lot of them or more, you might not show up on those search pages frequently due to the low bids, that kind of determines how much impact it's going to have.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Thank you for answering. Yes.
No, it was a good question. It was a good question.
All right. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the questions. I do appreciate. So if anyone has an additional question who's already asked, feel free to raise a hand. I am going to be here for, I guess I only booked 45 minutes this time instead of an hour, seeing as I have another call to hop to afterwards. But yeah, for anyone listening, unless I have another hand raise. So as I go off on a spiel here. Oh, I don't have to spiel. I got another question. Awesome. Cool. I'm going to bring you up. Not sure how to pronounce your name. Feel free to pipe in and let me know that. But you can also unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello. How do I pronounce
This is
your name?
Sabah.
Sabah.
That's
Okay.
Sabah.
Awesome.
Okay, so my question is, so everybody has their campaigns going on, but as you know, Prime Day is ahead. Do you suggest should we create specific campaigns? If yes, what has to be the strategy and how soon we can create it?
So you do not have to create specific Prime Day campaigns. In fact, I almost really wouldn't recommend it. We actually just went over internally our Prime Day strategy. The most work for Prime Day will happen the days leading up into Prime Day, specifically the weeks leading up. If you have additional keywords that you want to test that you think are going to be very important to your brand, I would launch those today. The reason why you don't want to be launching a whole bunch of campaigns is because you need sort of that time to test. And because Prime Day has like increased volumes of traffic and also like increased competition, it becomes very, very expensive to test untested things. And that's why it's not really great to like launch a whole bunch of stuff right before. So actually the preparation for Prime Day should happen like even in the months, definitely like the weeks prior. I'll just, because everyone on the call may be kind of interested in what it is that we do. So if we're not launching a whole bunch of stuff, like what are we doing? We're actually going extensively through our current campaign structure and kind of identifying those things that might pop off during Prime Day that we would previously be unaware of. Do keep in mind that the couple days before Prime Day, your conversion rates are going to be garbage, but you're probably going to end up with a whole bunch of clicks. Meaning there's a lot of people on the platform. There's a lot of people kind of seeing what the deals are going to be because Amazon is going to be heavily pushing Prime Day in their advertising. So driving a lot of traffic to the platform, but that platform or the traffic is going to be conditioned to really purchase days of Prime Day. So Amazon is going to tell you to raise all your budgets and bids before because there's a lot of traffic. Don't do it. It's a trap. It's not really a trap, but it's not the right call because people just aren't going to be purchasing then. So you're going to end up with, yes, you're going to spend it, but it's not going to translate into the performance you want. So what we're doing right now is essentially going through our entire campaign structure and trying to identify like where do we have bids that are maybe a little bit higher, where are all of our poor performing keywords. We're heavily analyzing like what are negatives that we need to do. Another thing that you definitely want to look into is you want to heavily analyze your placement percentage adjustments, dynamic up and down biddings, anything with like really that can have very intense increases. You just want to be careful of. I'm not saying that like, oh, don't use those days of Prime Day, but recognize that those things can trigger very quickly during the days of Prime Day. Or we're looking at campaigns that have very high budgets that don't really have any spend on them, and maybe high bids that like you've continuously tried to get impressions on a keyword and it hasn't translated to any impressions whatsoever, but the bids still remain high. All of those things you just want to watch. And what we'll do is we'll kind of perform somewhat of a reset on the account, meaning just like check all of those things, make sure they're dialed in. Or if we have a campaign that's maybe even has untested stuff in it, we might kind of lower the budgets just to cap if that thing pops off. We're not going to end up with massive increases on our ad spend. And then what we'll be doing day of for the most part is simply adjusting the budgets and keeping an eye on those, because campaigns running out of budget are going to be the only thing that you're going to get in real time. That being said, you're not going to get real time performance of the campaign. So you're going to want to look at the historical performance for that campaign, maybe over the last, say 7 days, but the last couple days are really going to color that performance due to the poor conversion rates. So you might want to look past that, as to like the last, 14 days, 7 days prior to maybe even those dates, just to get an idea and then base your budget decisions around that. The only thing that I would really be worried about as far as adjusting bids is if there is a particular target that you have from a client or that you've identified that you're like, I need to remain top of search or very present on the search page. And it's very important. Those ones, what you're going to have to do is go and like manually search those keywords or use those search queries on Amazon, see where your ads are showing up, and then go in kind of a little bit blind and then adjust your bids accordingly. But do keep in mind, as you adjust your bids, Amazon is going to spend those and give you those cost per click increases. So you just want to make sure that making those moves actually make sense. But for most of our brands, the only thing that really will change is budget. The other thing you want to keep in mind is if your clients are running any sort of deals or coupons, or if they've elected to do nothing. We have some of our clients are like, I'm not doing anything. We're not doing coupons. We're not doing price changes. We're not doing squat. That's going to factor into our strategy because people are coming to Amazon to look for deals on those days. If there are no deals available in the brand, I would not expect your conversion rates to have that much of an increase, which is going to, like, if we raise anything, meaning we're going to increase the cost per clicks and we don't see an increase in the conversion rates to kind of mirror that, you're just going to end up with much higher ACoS and poorer performance. So I would keep that in mind. So depending on if they're running any deals, that kind of changes what we would do with potentially the bids or like how much budgets we're going to allocate those days.
Got it. Thank you for your detailed response.
Yeah, of course. That was great. I appreciate the question. It was a really, really great question. Yeah. So for all of you who are listening in, if anyone has a question, feel free to raise a hand. I will bring you up to ask your question and hopefully get a good answer. If you would like to catch the replay, or if I've said something and you're like, oh, I really would like to go back and rewatch this, I'm actually streaming this live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube page. And so you can go and catch the replays there, which is great because unfortunately on LinkedIn, once these live audio events end, the content is pretty much lost forever. So thankfully I'm streaming it, so it'll record and you can check it out there. Other things, if anyone doesn't have any other questions, again, feel free to use the hand raise to ask and receive your answer. But I'm actually trying to put out a segment of, I really want to do a lot of Q&As because there's a lot of good questions in the community and I want to make sure you all get the answers. So I've actually started up, there is a form and I do believe it is linked in my LinkedIn profile somewhere. It is also, if you search on LinkedIn hashtag, I've been trying to use the hashtag jungler, like our brand name, JUNGLR, answers. The 3 questions I put out so far have been answered. And in the comments of each of those posts, there actually is a link. So what it is there's a form. You can submit one of your Amazon advertising questions. If you don't feel like speaking here, but maybe you still have a little bit of a question, feel free to go and find that form. And you can submit your question, and I'm going to be putting out a video response to one of those questions 5 days a week if I can get enough questions and people participating. So that resource is available. If you have additional questions or you want to submit more than one question, feel free to do so, because again, I'm going to be really trying to ramp that up and get answers to the community, because like I know there's a lot of moving pieces that go into advertising. So I don't see any additional hand raises. Again, if anyone has any questions they would like to have answered, feel free to use the hand raise option. I'll see that and be able to bring you up to ask your question live. But until we get a hand raise, I might go over a very interesting thing that we had discovered. Actually, Maria's question about gold panning strategies and if they help you to rank. That kind of gave me an idea. All right, Mohammed, I'm going to bring you up, and then maybe at some point I'll be able to share that kind of interesting insight I had. Let's see if I can bring you up. This thing is kind of slow. Sometimes it's, let me see. For some reason, I'm clicking allow you to speak, and it is not bringing you up to the platform. And to be honest, I am not sure why. Mohammed, is it possible to lower your hand and then try and raise it again? See if I can fix that. For some reason, I'm clicking on you and it's not allowing me to bring you up for some reason. I'm not sure. All right, let's try this again. Well, that is ridiculous. I'm so sorry. It is not allowing me to, it's not allowing me to bring you up. Well, I know you have a question and I want to get it answered for you. If I still can't get this right, let me see if I can. Feel free to maybe message me. If I can't, yeah, that's sucky. So sorry, for some reason it's not allowing me to let you up and speak, even though I'm selecting the allow to speak option. So Mohammed, if you want to message me your question, feel free to do that, and I'll definitely make sure that I can get you either way. I'm gonna make sure I can get you an answer to that question. Yeah, if anyone else wants to raise a hand, if anyone's down for it, and just see if I can bring you up, because I'm not sure if it's me or if it's for some reason your profile isn't letting it. It's very strange. It's been working. Hopefully the audio event is not broken. All right, let's see. Okay. Grigor, it looks like you can speak. I'm not sure
Hi,
what happened with Mohammed. Hello, how are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm good. What about yourself?
I am doing well. I'm doing well. Did you have a question,
Thanks
or
for
are you
doing
being
the
helpful?
event. And I do have a question.
Awesome.
I'm priced the highest in the niche, in my niche,
Mm-hmm.
like $5 to $7 from my closer competitor,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, I need to push hard on PPC, which eats almost all my profit.
Mm.
I'm thinking of decreasing the price
Mm-hmm.
of the product and also decrease the bids on PPC.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if there is a good strategy. What do you think on that?
So I don't think it's a bad strategy to test. And actually, if you are interested in trying to figure out pricing, I did an interview with Jason from AZ Seller Kit. They have a repricing tool. And he has an algorithm he dialed in through doing it manually for a lot of years. And because I had a lot of clients asking about how to change prices or how to go about it, I did an interview. I highly recommend you watch that. It's on our YouTube channel. Which if you search at Jungler on YouTube, it should pop up. But so if as far as like testing prices, I would highly recommend watching that video and then just following his system for testing prices. As far as if you should do that, my gut would say yes. So the thing that you're going to want to watch, like how well is this affected or how is this affected, is going to be your conversion rate. And that's what you're seeing with the struggle, is that your conversion rate isn't causing enough sales velocity for you to be able to rank on specific search pages. And so you're kind of having to make up for that additional sales velocity through the ads. That's kind of like in general what you're seeing. So anything that's going to increase your conversion rate is going to help with your ads as well as your ranking.
All right. So yeah, we've been competing on the same price, but they started to undercut me on the price.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, as I said, I'm the highest priced in the niche, and also with the most reviews. But we know today in today's world, people choose the cheapest prices.
Yeah.
And it's hard to compete when you have the biggest price. That's why I need to push on PPC.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, you are correct there. The other piece of the puzzle that you might look into is potentially listing optimization. So the thing with higher price, because I've seen it. So we had a particular client that he was priced, I think it was like $10 above the market. It was a very competitive market. However, he was able to rank because he absolutely dialed in his listings and his packaging, and he was constantly innovating on that, and was able to demonstrate to the market that he had the premium product. So if a shopper is convinced that your price increase is worth it, they will pay it. There's two kind of caveats to that. One is, does your listing adequately convey why you are worth $5 more? And then the second question is, how much does the category care? Because there's certain categories they're like, I don't really care. Like, I want shoelaces. I'm not trying to hike. It's not like hiking shoelaces I have to worry about they're gonna bust open and they have to last forever. Like, I just want shoelaces for my kid. Like, I don't care. And there's certain people in the shoelace category that will care. So the question is, like, to what degree does that category, are they willing to pay for a more premium product? And then can I convince a shopper through my listing that I am in fact the premium product and the $5 extra is worth it? And you can do it. I've seen it done. But you really, it's about testing, iterating, and striking that balance between the increase in price and, again, what the listing looks like. And the way you're going to track and see, is the market actually willing to pay, based on whatever listing changes or things you do, would be, what does my conversion rate look like? And what does my conversion rate look like versus my competition? Those two things will tell you how good you have dialed it in or how much more room you have to improve.
Currently, my conversion rate is a little bit lower than the average niche conversion rate. But I'm guessing that, yeah, I don't say that my listing is fully optimized 100% because I'm not an expert. But
yeah,
I think one of the problems is the price.
yeah, it's very well if the market or like the shoppers are viewing you and your competition as equivalent, then they're going to go off price. If they're convinced that you have something else to offer that's better than the competition, then at that point you can command higher prices. So it's really just convincing them of that.
Because on the my most relevant keywords, I am pushing on top of search 50%, and I'm converting well. My ROS is 4 and above 4, so it's not a problem over there. But to be there, I need to pay, to pay, and not and expensive is expensive nowadays. That's why I think to compete more directly on the price of the product.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Yeah. I know. Good luck.
Okay.
Good luck, and let us know how it goes.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate the question. It was a great question. Cool. I see Parth has a hand up, so I'm gonna bring you up, and then Mohammed did message me, so I will get to your question, Mohammed, afterwards. I appreciate you DMing me. But Parth, feel free to go ahead and unmute and let me know how bad I butchered your name.
Yeah, it's correct. How are you, Elizabeth?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Elizabeth. My name is Parth. I'm from India.
Awesome.
And I'm going to sell bed sheets, curtains on Amazon. So currently we are planning to launch my brand called the Dream Weavers on Amazon. So I was just going through some research, and I just want to ask you a simple question. So what is the effective strategy to start advertising on Amazon, and how should we decide the budget?
That is a great question. So the good news is that I do have specific experience in home goods and bed sheets, so I can give you a pretty good answer as to how we've done it and how we've gotten really good results.
That's good to know.
Yeah. As far as the budget, that one is determined by a couple things. One of them is just what can you afford. So it sounds like you might be the manufacturer.
Yeah, we are manufacturer.
Okay. Well, the great news is that, like your lead times and cost is going to be great. Much better than if you had a middleman. So you definitely have that going for you for sure. And then as far as okay, so let me go over the strategy, and then that will kind of help determine on the maybe a little bit. I'll give you some context on budgets and how to think about it. So strategy, especially in bed sheets, how we've gotten the most benefit of doing this is really identifying where there's very product specific keywords. Now, to be honest, it takes a bit of legwork, but the results we've been able to get have been phenomenal. So you have queen size or king size or twin size or all the different size variations. If you build out specific campaigns, so only advertising, say, a queen size bedding set with queen size keywords, you're going to get so much infinitely better results doing it that way. So like I said, it's a legwork to kind of identify those and then build out the relevant campaigns, but that's going to work. We've gotten phenomenal results in all of the clients we've done this with. The other thing you want to look at is the relevancy to the keyword. So I actually, on our YouTube channel, have a video I did it's a recording of a workshop I did on keyword research for product launches. This is actually a manual strategy because it still uses Helium-10, but I wanted you to kind of get an idea for keyword relevancy. So that would be good to maybe lend some context or some examples on what I mean by relevancy. But it's essentially like, so for instance, we had like floral bed sheets, right? or maybe it had like a dark background with a floral bed sheet. We would find the keywords that are like dark floral bed sheets. And what you're going to find in the bedding category or curtains or anything, people will get very particular as to what kind of colors and style. And it might be you might just have solid colors, and that would work as well. But people get very specific. So for instance, if I'm searching, say, blue bed sheets, there's dark blue, there's light blue, there's maybe more of a powder muted gray blue. There's all kinds of variations on blue. And they're going to be looking at their decor and saying, especially again for curtains, and saying like, I want this very specific thing. So if you can identify where in the market people are searching for those very specific type products, and then build out the campaigns for those specific relevant products, that's how you're going to get really good performance. Again, it's a very somewhat tedious manual process, but that's where I would start. I would try and find, where does my product fit in the market very well, and then I would build out campaigns. In the beginning, we use mainly exact match and possibly some phrase match to branch out, and then additionally, you might want to launch maybe auto campaigns, broader campaigns. Product targeting might do very well for you. So that might be something else to identify again, and kind of like products. See if you can advertise on their search pages. See if you can convert there. Again, I would recommend checking out our YouTube channel, because I have another catch-all. It's called like catch-all auto campaign. I think it's the thumbnail. That actually works really well in very large catalogs, which it sounds like you are going to be launching with a larger catalog. So I would recommend setting that up even from day one. And then as far as the budgets, again, two things. I would look at what you can afford, because with launching with a larger catalog, that's the other thing, is your budgets might have to be larger just because you're advertising on more products. So you can do two ways. Either you can set, maybe a designated budget across a very large catalog. Trying to think through the conversations we have with clients on this. We normally will say, there's two ways to approach it. We're just going to try and spend heavily on everything and then see what works. Or you might launch something like a catch-all auto, or maybe just kind of dip your toes in the market with automatic campaigns, see which product performs really well, and then build out more specific manual campaigns around that. The downside there is that takes a lot more time to figure out. But you can do that with a lower ad budget and then delegate more ad budget to what's working. So if profitability is more of a concern for you, I might do it that way. If you're just interested in really just growing the brand heavily, I would launch with your researched campaigns. Like I said, exact match, phrase match, highly relevant keywords. I would do all of that, and then just kind of adjust based on performance.
Yeah. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, of course. Was that helpful, or do you have any follow-up questions?
Yeah. It was very helpful.
Awesome.
So I noted down your points, and I will work on it. Yeah. Sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Good. I appreciate the question. Okay, cool. Mohammed, I'm going to get, he asked the question, which is a very difficult question. So hopefully I can give you some answers here. So Mohammed says, hi, I'm running PPC on a live price product below $5. Those are difficult. The product conversion is very good, but cost per click is very high, eating all the profits. I already spent 2 months optimizing and lowering the bids, and the product is running at break even now. That's great. Shoot, Mohammed, if you're able to, my follow-up question would be, when you're saying I'm running at break even, is that break even overall, or are the ads running at break even? That would be a good clarifying point. I don't know if you're able to type me back in chat if you're still listening, but he says, now I'm stuck, as if I reduce the bids further, I lost the top of search position and the rest of the positions are not working well. The client gives a deadline of 2 months to convert into profits. What do you suggest I try to get the profits? I discussed with the client launching a variation at a higher price for a bigger bundle, trying to convince him on it. Yes, that's difficult. That is very difficult. So yeah, so my clarifying question there, and I don't know if you're able to respond to me. So if I can't get a response, I'll just kind of give you how you would approach it both ways. But my clarifying question would be, when you're saying you're launching, your product is running at break even, is it the product overall, meaning are the total sales just kind of spinning at break even, or is it just that the ads are running at break even? Because if it's just the ads that are running a break even and you have a good ad sale percentage, meaning you take the ad sales divided by total sales, that gives you the percentage of the total sales that are being attributed to ads. If you have more sales that are outside of, just whatever the ad sales are, that means the product is profitable overall. There are some brands who will strictly look at the ads and say, are the ads profitable? But if the ads are driving a greater amount of total sales, and then that is then able to drive actual profitability in the business for that one product line, it might be that you've just kind of reached an equilibrium, and that the brand has to maybe take a hard look and maybe reevaluate, if possible. So that would be what I would say if it's the one. But if it's the latter, meaning the entire product line is break even and the client's saying, well, I'm basically just selling to pay Amazon's fees and I'm not getting any from that, I do understand. So your follow-up question is, really all you can do, the only thing you can do is lower the cost per click. Because your intent has to be, to generate a profit here, you have to be able to maintain the current sales at lower ad spend, or at the very least grow the current sales at the current ad spend. That's the only thing you can do. So to do that, either you have to get, higher rankings with the current ad spend, which you've said you've already been working towards and you're able to bring that up, but it sounds like you can't really push it even further without, again, significantly increasing the ad spend. Or the second thing you have to do is lower the cost. And there's two ways to do that. One, of course, is lowering bids, which you've told me is you've lowered the bids, and that gives you different places in search, and doesn't, you said the rest of the positions are not working well. So then the second thing would be, can you find additional search pages where you can get lower cost per clicks and more profitable sales? Because there's two ways to bring down an average cost per click. One is just to lower bids on your main sales keywords. That's all not always the right call. Sometimes we have to maintain a higher ACoS on those targets, because that's really what's kind of generating our high rankings with. So we can't pull back there, but we still have to lower down the average. So the good news is that you have to bring down the average cost per click. You don't necessarily need to bring down the cost per click on every single keyword. So I would recommend, if you are not already launching a whole bunch of the gold panning campaigns that Maria was talking about. So if you can launch like low bid autos, if you can launch low bid like single word broad match keywords, you can try low bid categories. Like, you're just trying to be like, where can I get good conversions at insanely good ACoS? At low cost. That's what I would be doing. I would be launching a heck ton of those and seeing where can I branch out in the market and do that. Let me see if I have any other tips for you. The other thing I would look at when you say the rest of the positions are not working well, my question on that is always, because there's a lot of people that will say, I have to get the top of search placement, so therefore I have to have the bids high. I have to keep the top of search percentage because I only can get the top of search because that one works well. That analysis is only valid if it's a single keyword campaign. If it's not a single keyword campaign, yes, the data may say you only perform top of search, but the question is, which one? Is there other keywords contained in that campaign that would be able to perform better the rest of search? So I would, in this case, if I'm evaluating, is lowering my bids okay, I would probably, instead of looking at the placement percentages, and I could be getting your question wrong because I'm just reading the question in the context, so apologies for whatever reason I couldn't bring you up. But I would be looking at the individual keyword level and evaluating the aggregate performance on the keyword, and then evaluating, am I able to maintain the rankings that I currently have? I would be more worried about analyzing those two things than I would be looking at the placement percentage performances and then identifying that something is or isn't working there. So hopefully in between all of that, you got some kind of answer. So I would say maybe look to have a client conversation if it's just that the ads are break even, and give the client some context as to maybe their product isn't unprofitable overall. And then I would say look to lower your average cost per click. That can be done through a couple ways. One, just kind of decreasing certain bids, but it also can be finding other converting low cost placements. That's what I would do. And I do recognize that this is a very hard ask, seeing as you are stuck between a rock and a hard place, because high cost per clicks and low price points are just, they're difficult accounts to manage. So was that helpful at all? Hopefully.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. You can come up. I don't know what happened before.
Yeah, even I don't know. So the questions you have asked, one is that product is at break-even, not the PPC. If we take the PPC on higher side, not in break-even. So overall, organic and PPC orders are making the product at break-even.
Okay, yeah.
And
so, got it.
No. And you already explained this scenario too, so we don't go into the details. And second, you said that top of solutions, you have to be one campaign for one keyword. That's exactly how I'm doing.
Got it.
One keyword for one campaign. So that's because I want to know which placement is working. So I tested, and top of search was working very well, and rest of search and product pages are not working that well. So only top of search, and the second scenario is for ranking, even ranking prospects. When they trigger ranking, campaigns are running on top of search, ranking improves. And when bids, I load the bids, and top of search positions are gone. On rest of search, rankings also drop.
Got it. Got it. So the things that let me give you some context here. The things that I would look at going forward is if the rankings drop, how much do the sales drop? That's what I would be interested to know. Because if
sales drops too.
Yeah, so I would expect a sales drop. The question is how much and what is the resulting net profit change? Net profit being actual dollar change, even at the lower sales velocity. And you may or may not be able to answer that off the top of your head.
I have not measured that to the exact, but almost 30% sales are dropped. And on the profit side, profit almost remain the same. If I'm running on top of search, sales are high and profit is same. And if I load the CPC and on the rest of the search, although CPC is low, but sales are also dropped, and conversion is also dropped. So overall, the impact on profit is almost same, or maybe 1 or 2% difference.
Okay, I would. So to be honest, the problem you are faced with is that you have someone asking you to do something that may or may not be impossible. And this is a realization that I have come to with handling multiple clients and multiple client communication points. And a lot of times, so I would say do your absolute best. And it sounds like you are doing everything within your power to you're isolating keywords, you're evaluating it. It sounds like you're evaluating net margins as well. Like you are on this. The only piece of information I can offer you is maybe just look at it as an average cost per click and maybe see if you can get low bid conversion somewhere else to balance it out. That's my only try this as a ad strategy and see if you can. The other piece of this is going to be client communication. So the realization I have come to is that if something is potentially impossible, it is more helpful for me to surface that and to have a frank discussion around that in a way that my intent always needs to be helpful and truthful. And if I come to it with an intent of being helpful and truthful, and you want to take emotion out of it, and you want to not say you are running me around with something that is entirely impossible, and you don't want to get angry, you don't want to get frustrated, which I'm sure you're probably angry and frustrated, and that's valid. And the client is probably angry and frustrated because he's saying he's not generating profits and he's asking you to do something. And his end, he's saying you're not capable. On your end, you're saying, I don't think this is possible. So if both of you are stuck in those cycles, that actually is helpful to no one. So what he's lacking is the context that you're seeing on the ads side. So what you can bring to the conversation is data and context to that data in the conversation. So I would say there probably needs to be some sort of discussion around that. As for initiating that discussion, I find when we are more proactive in those discussions, we're starting off as a much better place. So again, you want to be level-headed as much as possible. You want to dial in your numbers, and you want to come into the conversation with a very clear, defined, this is what I need to get out of this conversation for me, to make sure that I can manage the ads well. So for instance, we had a particular client that gave us very conflicting objectives, and we were a bit unsure of how to proceed forward, not because we were unsure of how to manage ads. We are unsure of what the client actually wanted, because the two objectives were very conflicted. One was a massive sales growth, and the other one was a massive profit increase. So we came into the conversation as, hey, we're a bit unsure. We feel like these conflicting objectives have caused us to have confusion over what we should be doing. And for your best intent, we, out of this conversation, need to get clarity as to what your goals actually are, or maybe some guide rails as to which we should operate in, because these two things are in opposition, and we want to make sure we're managing well. So that came from an intent of being helpful, that came from an intent of being truthful. And what he was lacking was the context as to why these two opposing KPIs actually caused him to not have the results that he wanted. So what we brought is that context, and then we got that clarity, and now moving forward, we're very sure of our strategy because we got the clarity. So sometimes when you're kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place, it's more about getting clarity from which direction the client finds most important, than it is you just trying to be stuck in that, negative cycle of you're trying everything and it's not working, and he's stuck in the negative cycle of he thinks you're not able to hit it, when it's just, it needs to just have, you guys need to come together and like game plan together and have that conversation, versus just both stuck in a cycle. I'm not sure if that was helpful, but that's how I would approach it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And one last thing, I decided to with the higher bundle. I already tested it for another product. Actually, that product was already in profit. It was low price but in profit. I added the second variation with a high bundle and not no PPC on the second variation. So overall, the profit margins in terms of amount, the second variation was high. So if I add another variation with a higher bundle, higher price, and no PPC on that, so the previous variation would be able to bring the traffic, and our competitive prices is compared to the price product. So would that work?
Yeah, most likely it would work. I mean, the only variable there is how much does the market want that additional product. But if you see a potential for sales increase, so like you said, it's not like you would increase the ad spend on it. I think that's a very good way to look at increasing profits.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question.
Really
I
helpful.
Appreciate the question. It was great. And I appreciate you working with our technical difficulties. Cool. I did see Jeffrey raise a hand. I'm not sure if you still have a question. I know I'm technically 10 minutes over, but I'm down to answer one more question and then I'll close this out. Let's see if my bring you up to, there we go. It's working. Hey, Jeffrey, how are you? Feel free, you don't have to unmute yourself and then you should be good to ask a question. Not sure if
there it is.
There we
Hello,
go.
Elizabeth.
Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Well, I can hear you. Not sure if hopefully my mic isn't broken now. That would not be good. All kinds of technical issues today.
I think I'm here now.
Okay, cool. I can hear you.
Okay, awesome.
There we go.
I do have a question about using branded terms. I have a brand I'm managing, and they have about 84 SKUs, and it's a 2-word brand. And the brand owner was asking about these brands being displayed in a certain order when someone types in the brand name, and I was explaining that they tend to come up based upon where Amazon puts them for a variety of reasons. But am I essentially, for some that are sponsored, my question is, am I competing against myself? Meaning I have one, it's in the number 1 slot for sponsored, and I pay a certain amount for that branded term. And then product number 2, I pay X CPC, and then product 3, I pay X CPC. Could I essentially, if there's no other competitors on that page, can I just lower my CPCs across the board for those clicks and I'll still maintain positioning pretty much? Or do you feel that there's going to be a point where all of a sudden the competitors will start slipping in or attacking the brand name? Or how does that tend to work? I mean, I don't want to overpay for CPC, and I'm just pushing one product ahead of another, and they're battling, paying too much for CPC comparing position 1 and position 2, and I don't really need to do that.
Got it. No, that's a really great question. So I got some good news for you. That as long as the ads are run through a single advertising account. So there are certain times where like we would have like a vendor account, or sometimes the brands are selling through more than one account, which they shouldn't be, but there are brands that do that. In those cases, if it's a separate account, yes, you would be competing against yourself. But the good news is that Amazon has set it up, and if you read their literature, so I'm sure you can find it and point your client to it if you ever had a question, that if it is advertised within the same account, you are not technically bidding against yourself, and it won't increase the cost per clicks in the ad auction. So you should be good there. Good. And then the other good news is that it is an ad auction. So even if you had, so you put like, there are some people that will, because they want to make sure they win their brand name, they might put, say, a $10 bid. And unless the competitor comes in and bids something super crazy, they're only ever paying like, something like 50 cents cost per clicks. So it's still an ad auction. The only way you would, in essence, compete with yourself is if, for some reason, like one of the branded campaigns you were struggling to get impressions on, so you kept like increasing those bids, and then you suddenly stopped getting impressions on the other one, so you started increasing bids, which again, it's still an ad auction, so you're not going to like exponentially increase your cost per clicks unless a competitor comes in. But there would be maybe that would be the worst thing that would happen. And then at that point, if you start getting clicks, then you could just lower it. Another tip I've seen is that if you have a lot of brand loyalty and say you launch a new product, I have seen a lot of big brands, and we've done it and it's worked well, to leverage your branded traffic to heavily showcase the new product on that branded search to be able to like get loyal traffic to the product. That's worked actually pretty well.
So you're saying that if that new product, I put in the highest brand name bid on that one, it should show up in the top sponsored spot. And then as long as I don't bid against that one with one of my other products, it should stay up there, right?
Yep. Yeah, you can do that. And then the benefit is, if it's a new product, it'll probably show somewhere further down on the branded search because, it's a new product And typically like your best sellers end up coming to the top just because it's a whole sales velocity thing. So if you wanted to influence that to, again, if you have brand loyalty, you can kind of funnel that to the new product with advertising.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, of course. I really appreciate the question. It was a great question. Cool. So I am going to, I guess I did go to 1 o'clock. I had a conflict before, but it canceled. So I really appreciate all of you being here. This is awesome. I'm going to end us out. But just a quick recap. If you want to watch the replay of this, if you heard a question, you're like, oh, that sounded interesting, I'm going to go back and listen. Feel free to go check out our YouTube channel, or you can check me out on Facebook. There has been a live stream of this, and that recording will be posted there. And also, as another reminder, I am going to be answering Amazon advertising questions 5 days a week, providing I have enough questions. So that means if you have an additional question, you've already gotten a question answered from me, feel free to go. That link should be in my I think it's in my profile. If it's not, you can on LinkedIn search #JunglerAnswers and you will find those posts, and there will be links to the form. So it's a form submission. You can submit your question and answer on that form. And again, I will be choosing one every single weekday. And so you can be on the lookout for those ones as well. So thank you all. I really appreciate it. It's been a phenomenal discussion, and I will hopefully be hosting one of these again. Cool. And I appreciate all of you watching live. Thanks so much.